The Goldwater Institute, a Phoenix-based public policy think tank that was established in 1988, is out with its report card on state lawmakers. Joining us now on Arizona Illustrated is Darcy Olsen. She is the president and CEO of the Goldwater Institute. Thanks for coming back to the program.
Thanks, Bill.
Tell us about, this is the 5th annual legislative report card, and you guys looked at, I think, more than 300 votes.
It's the most comprehensive record of its kind. We look at all of the different votes that are taken there. There are over 1,500 bills, memorials, resolutions introduced every year. Can you imagine being a legislator even and just trying to keep track of that? So we look into those dark recesses. We put all of those votes on record. We tally them up, and what we look for and assess is legislators' fidelity to the Arizona Constitution. And let me tell you, there's been a little bit of stepping out lately.
Well, I know you guys were looking at 4 categories: education, constitutional government, regulation, and tax and budget. And as far as Southern Arizona lawmakers are concerned, 11 of the 15 state lawmakers from Southern Arizona scored an F, and the other 4, well, tried D. What happened? Well,
these are the worst scores we've had in 5 years. There definitely has been a shift to the left. Some people say that's the growing influence of the Democrats. We just document it. That's what we're there to do. But sometimes we think of only these kind of big spending issues going on in Washington, like the bridge to nowhere. But the truth is, we have those right here in the Arizona legislature. We have, for instance, a $2 million welcome center for Yuma that went through this budget. And here you have these taxpayers who aren't able to afford their increasing property tax bills, footing a bill for a center that arguably we don't need. And so what we've documented here is a lot of the legislators are just out of touch.
And what do you say to those that would be saying, well, this report card really doesn't mean anything? That's just the Goldwater Institute, a very conservative organization.
Well, if you don't believe that your job is to protect liberty, then that's fine. But if you do think that is your job, and that's what the Arizona Constitution says it is, which is to protect individual rights, then you do need to take this report card seriously. It is the most comprehensive of its kind. We look at all different kinds of votes. And yes, some of the things we look at, they look like these tiny, well, that's just one little regulation, but this is death by 1,000 cuts, and liberty is eroded one little bill at a time. There was one that a lot of people didn't think was a big deal. It was in audiology. Audiologists, it requires them. They already have to have a master's degree, continuing education, they have to be licensed, and now the legislature says they all have to have PhDs. Well, what that does is it limits the number of people who can enter audiology, right? And it's very expensive to get a PhD.
And those already in the business are going to have some problems then.
If
they don't have a PhD, or they're grandfathered in.
So they make a really good living for a while.
Yeah.
And as one of the legislators called us afterward, he called the person who lobbied for that, and he said, "What did you make me vote for?" Sometimes the legislators they think it's good, and then they find out later that it's not what they thought it was either.
Let's talk about the state budget. The state budget could, when the lawmakers come back in January, be looking at least $800 million in the red. It seems like it's going up every week. What do you advocate for the legislature?
Well, I think the first thing we could do is not fund the Yuma Welcome Center, which would be a start.
$2 million, did you say?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit of waste. The budget has been expanding rapidly over the last 5 years. The spending under Janet Napolitano has been greater than under any other previous governor in the past, I think, 5 cycles. So there's plenty of room within the agencies to look at some agencies that could be eliminated. And that's what we need to do. We need to tighten our belts.
Is there something in the Constitution that says that limits the amount of debt?
Yes, there is a debt clause provision in the Arizona Constitution which limits the amount of debt, and I believe the figure is to $350,000. Now, I know that's shocking, because we're so far, over our ears and into the red. And so we are looking into that to find out if that is, in fact, an enforceable provision. And in that case, in Arizona, taxpayers have standing, and we can simply launch a suit to get that enforced.
Spending beyond our means, is that one of the things that you would advocate the legislature really tighten their belts this time around?
Absolutely. I mean, all of us in our own households, you know, this is something we do every day, right? When you go to the grocery store, you're not just going, oh, I'm going to grab this, looks good. You're going, which, you know, the generic cereal next to the General Mills, and which is cheaper. And, you know, the government, they're not spending their own money, and so they're a lot less careful because they're spending your money, and they're kind of having a good time with it. So we hope that with this report card, we can shake them up a little bit and remind them of what they're there to do.
Darcy Olsen, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And to check out how your state lawmakers did on the Goldwater Institute's annual legislative report card, you can log on to their website, goldwaterinstitute.org.